Am I the a-hole for embarrassing my sister-in-law after she expected me to pay her and her friend's bill? So I, 25 female, went out for dinner for my sister-in-law's 28 female bachelorette party this past weekend. Between my sister-in-law and my husband, 26 male, sister-in-law has always been the golden child of the family. Growing up, my in-laws cuddled her and gave her everything that she wanted, while my husband always got the crappy end of the stick. She was always the popular girl in school, cheerleader, lots of friends, and all the boys loved her, while my husband was always a little more nerdy and got picked on quite a bit. Even my in-laws would give him a hard time about this and say he needed to be more like his sister. Well, fast forward to today. Both my husband and I went to top schools, got our degrees, and currently have very well-paying jobs in tech. I'm not trying to sound braggy. This is just for context, but we live a very, very comfortable life. Sister-in-law still currently lives at home with my in-laws where they foot all of her bills. She had my niece, 4 female with her ex, and is currently on marriage number 2. This past weekend, I was invited to this fancy upscale restaurant in my city for my sister-in-law's bachelorette party, saying she just wanted to do a nice dinner. There were 8 of us in total, and at the end of dinner, the bill comes out and the waiter hands it to me. I'm sitting there confused for a second, until sister-in-law speaks up and is all, "My parents and I were talking, and we're thinking you and my brother can handle the bill for this, as a wedding gift, since you're not financially contributing to my wedding." I stared at her shocked for a moment, and then was like, "And you didn't think to bring this up to me beforehand?" She started going off about how we're so well off, so what's the big deal? And she's sure her brother wouldn't have an issue with it. I asked her why her fiancé doesn't foot the bill, or my in-laws, and where in her right mind she thinks it's okay to spring this on me. She started going on about how we're the wealthiest in both her and her fiancé's family, and that she didn't think I would act like this and would say yes. I told her, "Well, sorry, but I'm not your parents. Don't expect handouts from me." She called me selfish, and I called her entitled brat, paid for my half of the bill, and left. Well, as expected, my mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and even some of the cousins and aunts on my husband's side have been absolutely furious with me and are expecting me to apologize for the comments. I told them over my dead body. Husband is 100% on my side, and we are debating on not going to the wedding. I was talking to my mom, and she thinks I took it too far with the comments, and she just apologized to keep the peace. Am I the a-hole? Info, the bill was close to $1,000. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Don't apologize. No matter how much money you make, you are not expected to 1. Contribute to your sister-in-law's wedding, WTF. 2. Foot the bill for an entire bachelorette party that you are attending as a guest. 3. De-escalate her temper tantrum once she didn't get her way. The burden of payment for a bachelorette party usually falls on the maid of honor and bridesmaids, and arranged for ahead of time, or the bride. And a far more common occurrence is that everyone pays their own way but chips in for the bride so that she is taken care of. But again, that's settled way ahead of time. Not the a-hole. I guarantee you were only invited as a setup to try and make you pay. Don't go to the wedding. And I'd honestly consider how much contact you want to maintain with sister-in-law and your in-laws moving forward. It's clear they see you two as nothing but an ATM. They obviously splurged as much as they wanted as well, with the bill being close to $1,000. Not the a-hole. The fact of her springing that on you at the end is unconscionable. It'd be one thing but still questionable if they had approached you privately beforehand to see if you'd throw a dinner for them. It's another entirely to surprise you at the end of a dinner and expect you to pay for not only her, but 6 of her friends. Even more so that she did it publicly. My guess is, she wanted to rely on you acquiescing to social pressure to do it without a fuss. Also that she expects contribution from you for her wedding. If you were her parent, that's one thing. But as a future sister-in-law? This is so wildly entitled on her part, and on the part of the families backing her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to share my family's cookbook with my half-sister? My mom's grandma started a cookbook before she had kids. My grandma inherited it off her when grandma started having kids, and then my mom got it before she had me. My mom gave it to me when she was sick. I was 7 at the time and died soon after. She told me to be careful with it, and that it was special to our family. A couple of years after she died, I learned my dad had cheated on her with his now wife, and that my half-sister was the product of an affair, and born before my parents' divorce was finalized. I was too young to realize when it was all going on. After learning this, I had a hard time being around my dad. I remember my mom being sad and it made sense why. I also learned that he had told my mom in a really cruel way. How I found out is, I eavesdropped on a fight between my dad and my maternal uncle and aunt and heard it all, including how much my dad hated how boring my mom was. I remained distant from him, his wife and my half-siblings ever since, that I have 2 more half-sisters and a half-brother. My dad decided to tell the oldest of my half-siblings about the cookbook. He mentioned how much I valued it and all kinds of stuff. She wanted to share it with me, to cook from it and to get right in it like I will someday. She pestered me about it, and every time I told her no. Then her parents would tell her more about it. In the end, she was upset and sobbing over being told no. I had told her it was something special from my mom's side, that I wanted to keep it private until I have children. That wasn't good enough, because she insisted we're family and she's my sister. My dad and his wife were angry with me. My dad's parents also told me I should have shared it with her, and that I'm being cruel to her when my mom isn't alive to care if the child born from the affair gets part of the book or not, but she could be closer to me because I share it with her. I don't really care about my dad nor his wife's opinion. I have no respect for them. They're pieces of trash in my eyes, but my grandparents and I always got along okay enough. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. And give the book to your aunt or uncle for safekeeping. Before it goes missing, is destroyed or edited. Scan the pages and make yourself a working copy. Then put the original somewhere safe as a treasured heirloom. Maybe get a safe deposit box. I'm petty. I'd scan the pages but make some photoshopped alterations, which makes the recipes taste wrong/inedible. You'll know. But if they copy your book, they won't be able to reproduce them properly. Not the a-hole. But you need to hide that book somewhere safe because they will take it. If they're petty enough, they'll probably destroy the cookbook. The parents could make their own traditions, but they wanted to hijack OP's maternal family's tradition. Not an if, it's a for sure. There's literally no other reason for Dad to want this other daughter to have it, other than knowing it hurts Opie and his ex-wife. Literally, that is it. He doesn't care if it makes Opie closer with her sister. He just wants to keep hurting his ex, because he has made it clear he has nothing but negative feelings for her. He called her boring and deliberately cheated on her as punishment for being so, and continued to use that as justification to others and why he hurt her. Opie's dad just wants to continue hurting a dead person and doesn't care if it hurts Opie too, because he probably hates Opie too for being connected to her mother. Dad just wants the other daughter to have it, because he probably convinced her to hate Opie and destroy it for fun when she does get it. Everything Dad is doing is on purpose to cause pain and hurt to someone who has been dead, and to Opie because she's an extension of her mother. Pretty pathetic that he's still trying to hurt a dead woman. Next story. Am I the a-hole for canceling my mother-in-law's phone plan so she can't let my nephew use it? Am I the a-hole here? Everyone around me says yes, but I feel super gaslighted by my husband's family right now. We are both late 20s with no kids. We added my mother-in-law to our cell plan a few years ago when we got married because she lives alone and didn't have a cell phone. My husband thinks it will keep her safer to have one for emergencies. At the time we added her for her phone and plan, it was around $20 extra per month. Plan costs have gone up and she got a nicer phone, so now it's close to $50 per month. Pretty steep the way the economy is, right? Anyway, my husband's brother has a young kid. He's 8. He's a nice kid, but not my responsibility. When I called my mother-in-law's cell phone a few days ago, my nephew answered. I asked him if he was at Grandma's house and if I could talk to her. He said no. He was at his house and Grandma's given him her cell phone to keep because his parents wouldn't get him one. My mother-in-law didn't tell me nor my husband about this, and I got pretty angry. I'm already not thrilled about paying for her to have a cell phone. So I'm definitely not happy about paying for my 8-year-old nephew to have it. So I went to her house and told her that if she wasn't going to use the phone, I was going to take it off our plan. And that I wanted the iPhone back from nephew because my husband's screen is cracked, and he can have hers. It will save us a few $100 since we won't have to buy a new phone. Needless to say, she's mad now because it's her phone to do with as she pleases, and she wants nephew to have it. I told her it's not her phone, and we won't pay for it if he's using it. I told hubby I was canceling it, and then I did. I told him if she wants a phone again, or wants nephew to have one, she can sign up for her own plan. He's mad that I did that. Mother-in-law's mad. Nephew and his parents are mad. But I did get the phone back, since it's no longer working on our plan. So am I the a-hole? I don't think I am. We all have to make cuts where we can with this economy. Now for the comments. Wait, the parents who wouldn't let their 8-year-old have a phone are mad? Shouldn't they be angry that your mother-in-law went over their heads? Or is nephew not getting a phone is for financial reasons? They just didn't want to have to pay for a phone, but are happy to have someone else pay for it. Not the a-hole. The whole point was for mother-in-law to have it because she lives alone and might have an emergency. If she chooses not to keep it, then you don't have to pay for anything. And clearly she doesn't need a phone, and she happily gave away someone else's property. Something tells me she intended for nephew to have it. That's why she upgraded a phone. Not the a-hole. Your husband and you put mother-in-law on your cell phone plan for her well-being. She's gotten a nicer phone, and plan costs have gone up, so instead of $20, you now pay $50 to assure mother-in-law's well-being. You have paid her cell phone costs for several years now. 8-year-old nephew's parents won't give him a phone. Mother-in-law gives your phone and plan, which $50 each month to 8-year-old. Now, his parents don't mind him having a phone. No one informed owners and payers of said phone and plan. OP cancels plan and recuperates phone. Now, everybody faults OP for not wanting to pay $600 a year for having husband's brother's 8-year-old on their phone plan? Entitled anyone? Even the husband. What a jerk. I get the feeling that he's mad because mom is mad. Bingo. Last story. Am I the a-hole for ruining my son's sister's first birthday? My ex's new wife called me 3 weeks ago and said that she just realized her daughter's birthday was on my week. She asked me to please bring my son to the party or drop him off the night before and they'd bring him back the next morning. She was very entitled about it. She presented me 2 options when I don't have to do either. I said I would think about it. Then she got huffy and said he has to be at his little sister's party. I again said I would think about it and she continued to argue. So I hung up. The day before the party, I asked my son, "Do you want to go to your sister's birthday party?" He said he did. So I texted her to tell her we would be there and ask her for the time of the party. She told me it was at noon. So we got there at 12:30 and there were no other cars, which was weird. When we went inside, my ex said he needed to talk to me, and I said that wasn't necessary. It asked where the party guests were. He said he needed to prepare me before I saw his wife. I said, why? Is she pregnant or something? He said she was, and I just rolled my eyes. I again asked where the party guests were. He said the party was at 2, but they wanted to make sure I had time to put myself together before the party. I told him he needed to quit with the soap opera drama, because I don't have time for it. I took time out of my day to accommodate them, but they blew it. I'm not hanging out with them in an empty house for over an hour, and I'm not wasting gas to leave and come back. I took my son to the park and we had a nice day. But my ex texted me a bunch about how I was punishing his daughter for the pregnancy when I don't care that his wife is pregnant. My only response was a text that said, "Grow up." My son asked about his sister's birthday, and I said there was a mix-up with the party time, which is true, and they would all celebrate together when he was at his dad's, so he was chill. My mom said I hurt the birthday girl, but she's 1. She's not going to notice who is at her party. My mom told me to be the bigger person, but I feel there is a limit to that. I'm not going to reward lying and trickery in my ex, any more than I would reward it if my 6-year-old did it. Am I the a-hole for leaving and not coming back? So wait, your ex intentionally kept the actual time from you so you would show up early. And all that just so he can tell you about a pregnancy in person and give you time to put yourself together afterwards, as if it's some life-shattering news to you? Hell no, not the a-hole. He really seems to love drama. I would like to know what kind of reaction they wanted. You sobbing on the floor while they can be the bigger person and comfort you? And later they will tell everyone how hard it hit you and how nice they are for being there for you. Whatever weird kind of dream they had about this obviously did not work. They could have been normal and told you the actual time. It was already nice of you to bring your son. I would have told them they can drive if they want him to join during your time. I'm sure that was his fantasy. He's always preferred fantasy to reality. I thought it was romantic when I was young and stupid. Unfortunately, I too was made of flesh and bone, so he tired of me quickly. But it's fine. He gave me a gift I'd never return. I won't begrudge him the pain. It thickened my skin at least. Not the a-hole. They weren't honest with you. Your ex could have called you to tell you about the new pregnancy. They didn't need to trick you ahead of time. It was kind of you to show up with your child in your own parenting time. Next time you speak with them, let them know they need to be honest with you, or you will never be flexible with your own parenting time again. If you don't make a clear boundary, they will do this more, especially if they're making more children. They'll want to do more family parties, more vacations when it may be on your time. It would be nice if you could both be flexible with each other, but honesty and open communication is key here. They have to play ball too for it to work. Good luck, OP. Co-parenting is not easy. But if he was honest with me, he wouldn't have gotten a soap opera moment. He is, after all, the main character of life, and we are all just supporting players in a story. Jokes aside, you're right, but that's never going to happen. He's allergic to honesty. The only reason I didn't suspect trickery was because his wife made a request, not him. But I guess it's rubbed off on her. Lol. Well then, he doesn't get flexibility from you. That's his choice. You're right, they blew it. But they'll be claiming they're the victims until the end of time. It is what it is, I guess. Final update to my 37 male wife's 34 female sister 29 female tried to kiss me and now my wife is spiraling. Help me. If you haven't watched the first part of the story yet, click the card above or the link in the description. Now the second/final update. So I guess my original posts got reposted onto TikTok and some other subs here on Reddit. So I've been getting tons of messages asking for updates. It feels like things are mostly settled, and I'm really hoping this will be my final update. First, I want to say that I've gotten so many questions about who Mary is, and I'm just not going to say. Suffice it to say that she's never been household name famous, but she made a living solely on modeling for about a decade from what I understand, so she must have been popular enough that fashion people might know her. I really don't know how that world works, but in my opinion, it doesn't matter how many names you drop. You're not famous if you don't have a Wikipedia page. Here's the actual update. My wife loved a getaway weekend. We had a blast, and by the end of it, she said she felt like herself again. For a few days after we got back, things were really quiet, so we were hopeful that Mary had finally given up, but I felt uneasy about it all. Many of you warned me that Mary would try to interfere with my work, and while I initially dismissed it, I figured I would reach out to my boss just in case. I've been working at the same company for almost 10 years. And she's heard me vent about Mary before, so I didn't have to explain too much. My boss just reassured me that she knows my real character and would let me know if Mary tried anything. Well, as you predicted, Mary did try to contact my boss a couple of days later, and the following is a recounting of what my boss told me. Apparently, Mary said that I needed to be fired because I was a predator, and claimed to have proof that I assaulted her. My boss said that was a very serious accusation to make and asked Mary to explain what proof she had. Mary claimed there was a camera that caught the whole incident, and my boss asked her to send a video. Then Mary got flustered and said the police had it, so my boss asked her to send over a copy of the police report. Then Mary said it had a lot of private information in it, so my boss asked her to redact the private information and send it over. Then Mary said she didn't feel comfortable with that, and my boss told her that she could not take action against an employee based on word of mouth from a stranger. Then Mary shouted at her about victim blaming and hung up. Unfortunately, that was not the end of it. Last Wednesday, Mary somehow sent an email from my personal email account with a D-pic, that's not mine obviously, to the entire office. My best guess is that I must have left my email logged in on one of my in-laws' devices. She's definitely not smart enough to actually hack me. But I know this is completely besides the point, but of course she chose the weirdest looking junk I've ever seen. I played team sports all my life, so I've seen a lot of junks, and this was something else. It's honestly kind of funny to think about Mary googling gross peens or something, and sifting through hundreds of images to find just the right one. I had to apologize to everyone on staff, and thankfully, folks were surprisingly understanding. It's actually been a kind of nice bonding experience with my coworkers. I honestly didn't consider myself to be super well liked in the office, but it feels like everyone has been going out of their way to be kind to me, and it means a lot. Anyway, at this point, it was clear we had to escalate things legally. I really wanted to avoid it, but she forced my hand. My wife and I have a lawyer friend who helped us draft a cease and desist letter outlining her continued harassment and the material and emotional damage this is causing us. My wife then sent a message to Mary and my in-laws with a copy of the letter and made it very clear that we would pursue criminal and/or civil proceedings if her harassment continued. My wife's mom then called her crying and begged her to just let it go and leave Mary alone. My wife calmly explained that Mary's the only person responsible for this whole situation and that they, the parents, have always enabled her awful behavior. She also said something she later regretted, but I think was pretty awesome. Mary's going to stick you two in a nursing home and steal your money the minute she has the chance. And you deserve it. After the way her mom reacted, my wife is firmly settled on cutting off her family completely. This happened on Friday. And on Sunday, Mary's best frenemy, Anne, sent my brother a message on Facebook to say Mary is going to leave us alone and to please not sue her. I told my brother not to respond, then just sat and enjoyed the idea that Mary was out there somewhere freaking out about the potential of having to actually face the consequences of her actions. It must be such a strange feeling for her. Since then, we haven't heard a peep from the grapevine. It feels like things are finally starting to go back to normal. My wife is starting therapy next week and will be starting couples therapy in a month or two. She wants to do some work on herself first. She's also taking a short leave from work to rest and recharge. I'm so proud of her for standing up for herself with her family and finally putting her mental health and well-being first. Thanks again for everyone who offered advice. This was a messy situation, but it definitely would have been messier without your help. Oh, I wish I could see the mother's face when his wife dropped the nursing home line. I bet they always assumed Jenna was going to take care of them when they got old. With a scapegoat/golden child parenting style, for some reason, the scapegoat is always the one expected to take care of the family. Well, of course, they wouldn't want to impose on a golden child, and after all, scapegoat can afford it. The saddest thing is that the scapegoat usually complies. They are often guilted into it, or have the misguided notion that if they do this, then their parent will finally show their love for them. But it's never forthcoming, and nothing changes other than the narcissistic parents get worse. But by then, the scapegoat is so worn down they just accept it, while the golden child carries on like normal with their normal lives, and the scapegoat is a slave who has lost all self-esteem. Then the parents leave everything to the golden child in their will. There is absolutely no way this is the end of it. She's going to eventually assume that OP not suing her is the green light she needs to continue to pull the crap that she always has once the heat wears down. When she does something stupid next time, I really genuinely hope that both OP and his wife go beyond just scorched earth to full nuclear wasteland earth on her. She needs to be taught a lesson the hard way with actual consequences, not just threats. That's like parents that constantly say that they're going to turn the car around and put their kid in timeout and then never follow through. I get why they don't want to pursue legal action currently, especially considering that she hasn't done anything since the cease and desist. But when she does cross the line again, I hope they take her down hard. I really do. People like her who make false accusations, and especially pull that stunt with the email photo, only do it because they don't fear consequences, because they've never been punished once in their life. Screw her parents for making her into that little goblin troll of a woman. Okay, Mary's craptacular to the extreme, but wow, those parents are just as bad. She clearly thinks she has no worth beyond her looks, and her parents are just trash. Poor Opie, holy heck. And poor Jenna, my goodness. The boss is the MVP in my book, went down every avenue with Mary and cut her down short. We should all be so fortunate to have a boss stand up for us like this. I did like reading that part. I laughed when she mentioned victim blaming. She is the predator, and she's literally blaming the actual victim. Oh, and trying to frame him too. They're absolutely willing to do this if desperate enough. During my last breakup, my entire family got an email that I was about to be exposed. Nothing ever came of it. However, he got his exposure when I finally could take my proof of recurring harassment from him sending threatening messages, showing up to my job, and leaving messages on my car to finally get him to knock it all off. The best part was that my friends told me to block him from contacting me on phone/social/email, and my instincts said, no matter how down or lonely or angry those messages make you feel, those messages might be needed in the future. So he went on mute, and I gather evidence. Not a single person ever believed him, luckily. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not wishing my mom a happy birthday and then not letting her come to our house? I, 25 male, have a wife, 24 female. We'll call her Amelia. Amelia and I got married 2 years ago, coming up to 3 years in June. We have recently just had our first baby, a beautiful baby girl. My mom never was a huge fan of my wife for reasons I will never know. But I don't care, as I love Amelia so much, and I've had to defend her against my mom multiple times. My wife's labor lasted much longer than we expected. She started on Thursday evening and delivered our baby on Monday during the very early hours of the morning. As you can imagine, it was a long process, and she was exhausted, and so was I, as I wasn't sleeping unless she was asleep. My mom's birthday was on Saturday, and she had a whole party planned out. Amelia at this point was in awful pain very consistently. That means I was constantly by her side doing whatever she needed me to do, meaning that Friday night, we got no sleep. So when Saturday came around, we both were fighting to sleep and could barely stay awake. Because of this, I just completely forgot it was my mom's birthday, as I don't really look much at my phone, and if I did, it would be for entertainment for my wife and I together. We both agreed beforehand that when the time came, we would send the initial text that the baby was coming, but that would be it. And we wouldn't respond to any other text until after. Well, my baby girl was finally born, and we announced it to our family. Then I got to replying to my messages from the past few days, and that's when I saw my mom text about it being her birthday, and she sent a few more after expressing her anger for me not getting in contact. So I called her up apologizing but explaining that I genuinely forgot, and it wasn't intentional. She went on to blame my wife by saying she purposely went into labor right around her birthday in order to steal her spotlight from her son, which I found really weird to say. From this comment alone, I got annoyed and just told her to leave me and my wife alone, and that she isn't welcome to our house for the next few days. She can wait till she's over her fit to see her granddaughter. My whole family have been calling me an a-hole for this, and that I'm a bad son for not remembering my mom's birthday. But that I'm an even worse son for not letting her meet her grandbaby. It's annoying because all we want to do is enjoy our new baby together. Just the two of us without anyone being a bother. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. It's cute that your mom thinks your wife is talented enough to go into labor on command. It's bizarre that you're the only person in your family who realizes the world doesn't revolve around your mom. Keep to your boundaries, Daddy. And congratulations. I mean, I know my wife's amazing and all, but she isn't that talented to go into labor on command. But thank you so much. She sounds so super lucky to have such a loving man. Not the a-hole. Your mom should have understood when you told her you were with your wife in labor, not been griping and accusing. Tell/message your mom that after how she stupidly insulted your wife, and specify that she accused your wife of choosing to go into labor to damage mom's birthday party. You will need an apology from her to your wife in person and on social media. And CC that request to all the family. I love your attitude towards this situation. The public apology in socials. Lol. Or you can apologize to her publicly. I am so sorry that I forgot to text you happy birthday while we were at a hospital and my wife was in active labor. I'm so sorry that it wasn't the first thing on my mind when our baby finally arrived. I'm sorry that my forgetfulness caused you to have to call and text me multiple times to remind me about your adult birthday as we were in the hospital, and that you had to suggest your own makeup birthday present. I'm sorry that your own extreme reaction has made it so that I'm not comfortable with you being around my child yet. Not the a-hole, but turn off your phone. You don't need to take that from anyone, family or not. I'm really tempted to do that. Make your WhatsApp status something like, "We're alive and good, phones turned off while settling with our newborn," and just do it. That's a good idea. And now for the update. Hi, firstly, I wanted to say thank you to everyone for your advice, and it really made me realize how serious the situation is. I took the advice and decided to post an Instagram and Facebook post before my mom got a chance to. In the post, I mentioned what my wife went through, and purposely left in that she would never want to forcefully go through that, just to make it clear to my mom and family what the truth is. We announced that whilst we soak up our newborn, that uninvited guests won't be allowed into our home, so please respect our privacy as we take time as a new family. This worked, and I got a lot of friends and even some family commenting their congrats to us. My mom has since asked when can she see her granddaughter, and we have just said that she will see her when she fixes her attitude towards my wife, as my baby won't grow up to see her mother treated like she is nothing. Also, the fact that my wife never deserved to be hated in the first place. We are going no contact for now, and are as happy as we could ever be with our new baby girl. About my family, we have sent them a message with the full story, and now they feel really awful about everything. Originally, my mom told them that my wife got induced, and that she took some medicine to slow down the labor. I don't even know that medication exists, because apparently that's what I said on the phone, which is obviously not the truth. And my mom started claiming I did that to compete with her. My sisters are only young and didn't question my mom, but now they have been nothing but supportive. That being said though, I still have my guard up for now, just in case. Thank you again for your advice, and all your kind words to me and my wife. We really appreciate it. Saying she purposely went into labor right around her birthday, in order to steal her spotlight. Don't need to read another word. Mom is a freaking lunatic. The took medication to prolong her labor was the icing on a crazy cake. You would think someone who delivered 7 of her own babies would know no one would ever want their labor to be longer, but here we are. Good update. Glad that they are working as a couple to build their new family filled with positivity and not toxic negativity. Entitled people never tell the whole truth and often lie, either outright or by omission, to garner sympathy and create a victim mentality. That woman should never be called grandma by any child. She is cruel and unkind. My own grandma was like this. I only hated her, and my parents even more for subjecting us to her in the name of family. Hell, I forgot to wish my mom happy birthday while preparing for my exams. She didn't kick up a fuss, and was more interested to hear how my studying was going. I can't imagine being upset at anyone for forgetting my birthday, especially if they literally just gave birth. How self-centered do you have to be more upset about a missed birthday? And think an agonizing birth was planned and timed to make someone miss it, instead of being excited and relieved that all involved in the birth came out of it okay. Just pathetic. And this guy apologized. Poor guy. She's had tons of birthdays, but only one call to hear that her son has a new baby. I'd be amazed if this mom can drive, since that requires taking her eyes off of herself. I missed my own birthday party because my sister-in-law went into labor, and she and my brother wanted me there for support. Nephew was born in the wee hours of the morning, and we just missed having the same birthday by a few hours. I did it gladly, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat.